everyone. Welcome to the Beef Up Front podcast. This is our first little go at it with the Skype since we got taken away from school. So we're gonna try and do this like virtual. We got some PA, some Connecticut. We got some New Jersey people going on. So
wow.
I'm Ryan Coyle.
Jersey.
You guys want to introduce yourself?
Luke Schubert-Brown.
Joe Kmetz.
Eddie Turner.
There it is. Okay.
All right. So we're gonna with all the coronavirus stuff and not having any sports really going on right now. The main thing we got going for us is the NFL offseason, which has been pretty eventful to say the least so far. A lot of like moving parts, draft coming up. So we're gonna start with a little segment we're gonna call "Would You Rather." So our first "Would You Rather" is: would you rather build your franchise around Tua from Alabama or Joe Burrow from LSU? Who wants to start us off?
I'll start you guys off. I got Tua. I'm going to pick Tua. I think Tua is a better athlete, probably going to end up having the better career. I think Joe Burrow's not as great of an athlete as Tua, but if he ends up on the Bengals, I can only see him getting better throughout his career. Not like right now. He's not a now player. Tua right now could get you some wins, so I feel like Tua would be better to build around.
I agree with you,
Luke.
All right, Joe.
Well, you go.
All right, I'll go. I agree with you. I think Tua is just going to be. He reminds me of like a Russell Wilson type quarterback. How he's like mobile and he's really good, like throwing the ball on the run and stuff. And coming from Alabama, he's played in the SEC. Burrow's played against the SEC too, but he only had really 1 year starting, so kind of like a small sample size. I mean, he dominated, but Tua had more of 2 full years where he dominated the SEC. And if you just look at his numbers, he had just such an outstanding career, one of the best SEC quarterbacks of all time. Obviously, the one thing about him is his like durability. He's got the hip injuries coming off of, but he's a guy where if I were the Bengals and the Dolphins like wanted to trade up at one to take Burrow and they offered us like to move down, get a few more first round picks, I would definitely jump on that opportunity and take Tua.
I would go Burrow just because of the fact that, like you said, although Tua, is amazing, the durability issues are kind of a red flag. The hip injury is kind of bad. Obviously, I mean, he seems like he's fine right now throwing and stuff, but durability is a pretty big thing, especially if he goes to, the Dolphins where I don't know how well he'll be protected year one. So, starting on a bad team, I mean, I know the Dolphins are going to be a lot better than they were last year, but, the durability is definitely a red flag for me. So for now, I'd pick Burrow. But in reality, I don't really trust either of these two quarterbacks in the long run.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you, Joe. I don't think you can really go wrong either way here. But I like both these guys, but I'm going to go with Burrow here. He's got the height advantage. A taller quarterback sort of has a natural advantage in this league. And I agree that an even bigger issue, I think, is just sort of those question marks involving Tua's health. I don't anticipate it being a big issue, but it could be an issue, especially in the immediate run, especially for two teams who are hoping that these guys can maybe become win-now solutions. I think that Burrow's durability hasn't been questioned, and he had really some great numbers last year to back it up.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the both of you. I mean, a lot of teams are concerned about his whole hip injury and him being apparently accident-prone. So I do love Burrow, and I wish Tua never got hurt because I would have loved to see Burrow versus Tua in the final. And I don't know, if the Dolphins take Burrow and pass up on Tua, it might be one of their biggest mistakes, and it could be something down the road that they would regret.
Yeah, I definitely think this is kind of one of those things where like Carson Wentz and Goff, like these two are going to be compared to each other for the duration of their career. Like who's the better pick? Like who had the better overall career, whatnot. But so for our next topic, we'll move into another Would You Rather. Would you rather draft DeAndre Swift from Georgia or Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin as your franchise running back? Joe, start us off.
I'll start. I love Jonathan Taylor, and like I said, I'd rather pick Jonathan Taylor, but also he's just run so much in college, and like, once again, it's like a durability thing. He hasn't really had any injury problems, but for someone who already has a ton of mileage on his, body, in terms of football, you hope that he doesn't get hurt. And, I think he's a better running back than DeAndre Swift. I mean, if it wasn't for him, Wisconsin would have been a average Big Ten team.
Yeah.
But he turned them in. They won the division. They won, Hejkowski's Big Ten West. So, he got them into the conference title game. But I think he'll have the better career than DeAndre Swift. But he has a lot of mileage on him already, so that would be something I would definitely watch out for.
That's one of the reasons why I went with Swift in this scenario, just because, like you said, Jonathan Taylor has been Wisconsin feeds it to him 30 times a game. And sure, he had a lot of production, but he also was running at Wisconsin, who historically has like the best offensive line in the country. So that's another reason. I mean, he definitely has all the traits of a very good running back, but I think Swift is more fit to succeed in today's NFL, especially since he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And I think like a perfect landing spot for him would be in Tampa Bay with Brady now, because Brady loves to throw the running backs. Swift's very good at catching the screens.
Check downs.
Yeah, the check downs. And they're definitely in a win now mode. So I think Swift to the Bucs would be a great pick, and I think he's very built well too. If you ever see him, he's got strong legs, strong arms. He's going to be like a durable back in the league. Who I think we see these backs nowadays not having very long careers, but I can see him being like a Le'Veon Bell type who's going to go through the contact, catch a lot of passes, and do it all for you.
I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor. I feel like he's just a pure better running back in this scenario. I know Swift's ranked higher in most mock drafts, but New Jersey boy too. I mean,
at the end of the bias?
A little bias, just a little bit. But anyway, I feel like he just has more size. He's more built for 3 downs on the football field for each drive. I feel like he's more of like that franchise back than DeAndre Swift is. And I feel like where he could possibly go is he's definitely built for the New England Patriots. I think Belichick could use him really well. So I'm going to go Taylor.
Which one of you guys want to hit?
Josh, you want to go to me?
Yeah, sure. I'll take a run out of here. Yeah, you could certainly call me biased here, but I'm going to go with Swift. I got to watch Swift tear up my LaSalle Explorers for 4 years in high school. And what impressed me seeing him live was he was so explosive. Just got into the secondary fast, and he was strong. He's bouncing off defenders, elusive as well. And he'd run through you, around you. He just got to the end zone. Got downfield, and I thought that was a good point that Joe and Ryan, that you guys made. About Jonathan Taylor. He was the guy at Wisconsin. They were giving it to him so often, and he already has a lot of mileage on him. In this league, how short a lifespan the running back has. And, I think Georgia had a more, diversified offensive attack. And I think that, Swift was able to, there was less pressure on him to sort of be the guy all the time. So I think he may, be able to last longer in the league because of that.
Well, Josh, I have another question for you. If you could beat out Mario Verani in the LaSalle secondary, you can beat out anyone. Is that right?
Well, we know that Swift is a ferocious tailback, but he couldn't play the fullback position the way Verani did. I mean, talk about the guy.
All right, Eddie, what about you?
I'm gonna have to go with Swift as well. I mean, Ryan, you mentioned in one of our other podcasts that the offensive line at Wisconsin, I could run behind that line. So, knowing that fact, it's just the other shift is going to be. I feel like if he gets the right offensive line, and I feel like we said before, he's going to be perfect for Brady. And if Jonathan Taylor gets drafted to a team that doesn't have that strong of offensive line as Wisconsin had, his numbers are going to go down, and then that's that.
All right. This one could. I want the 2 Jets fans to pick our brains at this one. Here we go,
baby. I'm wearing the shirt too.
I did not wear my Jets shirt today.
So
I got Yankees hat on, Jets shirt on. I don't have anything next on though.
Jets took a lot of linemen through free agency, so it looks like they'll be going receiver in the draft. So the top two names in this year's draft are Jerry Judy or CeeDee Lamb. Not just picking on the Jets, but if you were an NFL team, who would you want your quarterback thrown to, Jerry Judy or CeeDee Lamb?
Eddie, go first. I could tell you're really excited for this question.
Well, I mean, when you guys FaceTimed me last night when we were going to do this, I said CeeDee Lamb right away. I mean, actually, I'm sorry. Why did I say that? Jerry Judy. Because CeeDee Lamb in their last bowl game had a couple drops, and I was a little concerned about that. I can't imagine passing up on the kind of talent that Jerry Judy offers. But in a mock draft that I saw today, I saw Henry Ruggs going to the Jets, and I was like, why? Like, why is this going to happen to me? Because I think the pick after was either the Raiders or
the Raiders are at 12.
Broncos, maybe. Raiders are at 12. I saw
Raiders
going
are
to
12.
the Raiders. So we had
Broncos at 15.
Yeah, so I saw either or that Judy would go to them, but if the Jets have the opportunity to get him at 11, I would be very concerned if we did not pick up Judy.
I also agree with that, Eddie. I think Jerry Judy, just because if you look, stat-wise, CeeDee Lamb looks better, but the offense they ran at Oklahoma and the defenses they played against in the Big 12, he'd have better stats. In the SEC, you're playing against so many potential NFL prospects, and all those defenses are insane. So I would definitely pick Jerry Judy. But I saw a mock draft today, which would be my worst nightmare. On the NFL Network, it said, we're trading down to the 16th pick to get a DN. And that
was for the Falcons, right? I saw that.
We'd swap with the Falcons.
I saw that before. You got to be kidding me. That's a typical Jets thing to do right there. Why would you pass up getting one of the best?
Joe, you do need another Alabama defensive
we need
lineman.
an edge rusher.
Joe, can I pick your guys' brain real quick?
Give
you a little quiz. All right, so I agree with you guys, Jerry Judy. I feel like he's the most talented wide receiver coming out in a long time. So going into this season, this past NFL and college season, a lot of people said Jerry Judy could possibly be the first pick in the draft. Who was the last first pick in the draft that was a wide receiver? Your Jets took him.
Yeah, your Jets did take him. I know.
Keyshawn Johnson.
Keyshawn Johnson. There we go. Pick your brain a little bit.
Keyshawn Johnson. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Your Jets first pick,
just,
Keyshawn Johnson.
At this point, I won't be surprised if we draft a quarterback at 11.
We draft Lucas Schubert-Brown.
You guys laugh, but you know I'm right.
Brady Williams at 11, Joe.
Misericordia at wideout.
Josh, you watched Misericordia versus Keystone. What were your thoughts on the quarterback? You think you could step in for Joe's Jets?
Start it off, I believe. It was a hard-hitting game. That's Mac. That's what you want to see.
That's Maction right there.
That's Maction.
Weekend Mac. We're
Maction.
All right. So my pick for between Judy or Lamb, I would go Judy as well. I was writing an article today on potential draft pick for the Eagles, and when I was doing some of my research, I kind of thought of Judy. I compared him to a Keenan Allen, but more explosive with the ball. Because he's just such a great route runner and has such great hands, where it just reminded me of watching his highlights of a Keenan Allen type. And I just think if you could get a Keenan Allen type to step into your offense day one, even kind of a Stephon Diggs maybe as well, but a little more fast. If you can get one of those guys to come in your offense from day one, that's going to be a big impact. And I would love for the Eagles to maybe trade up for him. It would cost a few draft picks, but I definitely think Judy, you can't go wrong with Judy or Lamb, but I think Judy is going to have the more explosive career.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Judy as well. I think he's just the best overall talent in this draft, and really all my reasoning has sort of been touched on by you guys. I will say, to Lamb's credit, he's played in the system for a few years where, he's had to torch elite Big 12 defenses for a couple of years, and but also he's played multiple NFL starting quarterbacks. He's played with them. He's caught passes from them. So he's got that professional experience. He's had it for years. I do like that about him. I think these guys are both going to be solid in this league. But yeah, I'm taking Judy as well.
All right, nice. So we got two more things to talk about for our Would You Rather segment. All right, if you were Bill Belichick, first of all, off the Patriots are saying like after Brady's gone, they got Jared Stidham, Cody Kessler, Brian Hoyer up there. They're going to compete for the starting job. I'm not really buying that. I don't think any of those guys are Bill Belichick type quarterbacks. So here are two names that are like on the market still. If you were Bill Belichick, would you rather go out on a limb and sign Cam Newton or trade a few draft picks and maybe pick up Andy Dalton? Josh, you want to start us off with that one?
Sure. Yeah, Eddie, you're wearing your Jets gear here, and I have the Belichick hoodie on right now, actually. But yeah, so I like no, but I like them going with Cam Newton. I like the experience. This is, obviously it would be nice if we could, get a little more insight on his health. I mean, this is sort of pending, potentially a physical or something of that nature, I think. But, he's got that experience. Belichick is, used to Super Bowl contention, and Newton is a guy that's been there. I like his experience, and I think he's still got it. The Patriots also have they definitely have a track record of picking up guys in the back halves of their careers and sort of helping them resurrect themselves. In their later years. So I think Newton could fit, and if they're gonna go outside their current roster and pick up a guy, I like them going for him.
I agree with those points. I think Belichick and McDaniels would do really well with Newton, but I just think off the past 20 years, having that check down system where get it to guys in space, let them do their thing, throw the short to intermediate routes and move your way down the field. I think Andy Dalton's a good fit there. He probably would only cost you like a 4th or 5th round draft pick, which Patriots could afford to give up. And yeah, like you were saying, Josh, like we don't know much about Cam's health. Like obviously he was MVP. That was 2015. That feels like so short ago, but coming up on this season, that'll be 5 years. So he hasn't really been like that since that season. So I think Dalton would be a better fit up in New England and more of like the Belichick McDaniels type quarterback that he's going to know his role. He's going to complete like 65 to 70% of his passes, get it to Edelman and James White, and just work the ball down the field. I think Andy Dalton would be a good fit in there and give them a chance to win the AFC East again.
See, I agree with that point, but I feel like Cam Newton's too hard to pass up on. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's for years in Carolina was told to fit a ball 20 yards down the field into a tight window, and then that's how the offense was run. It was all through Cam Newton. And I feel like when he goes into a Belichick system, it's not going to be about that. It's going to be about precise route running, throwing to a ball to a point, not to a receiver, like a spot on the field. And that's going to be a difference, a change for him. But if he gets that down, I'd be scared as a Jets fan. I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to be dangerous if Cam Newton can do that. So I think Cam Newton.
Always scared.
We'll get to my fears as a Jets fan later when we talk about Adam Gase. But I think right now signing Cam Newton would be the better option because it's just cheaper. Andy Dalton's going into the last year of his contract, and he's getting paid $17 million.
Yeah.
That's a ton of money for the Patriots, who are already one of the oldest teams in the league, to absorb. And Andy Dalton, once again, to what Josh said before, resurrecting someone in the back half of their career. I feel like, Bill Belichick could make Andy Dalton an all-pro quarterback again. But I think picking up Cam Newton, you could probably get him for, cheaper than $17 million a year.
Oh, yeah.
But I would pick Cam up because, once again, Cam and, Carolina never really had truly elite wide receivers around him. He was kind of, the thing that made that team go. Like, he was the one that led them to that Super Bowl. But in all honesty, I can't really picture Cam Newton and Bill Belichick together. But if I was, like the GM of the Patriots, I would pick up Cam Newton to get rather than trade for Andy Dalton.
How about you,
Yeah,
Eddie?
I'm gonna go Cam Newton 100% here. I mean, I agree with you, Ryan, saying that Andy Dalton would fit right in. But in my opinion, like, the game of football is changing. Like, it's not the Eli Manning, Tom Brady pocket passer kind of quarterback. If Bill Belichick win. I mean, right now, without Tom Brady, I feel like Cam Newton would be the perfect fit, and he can make him full potential that he had when he won the Heisman and all of them.
All right, cool. Last one for Would You Rather. If you're the Chargers, would you rather A, start with Tyrod Taylor and ride with him as your quarterback for the year, or B, pick up, as we were just talking about, Cam Newton in free agency? How about you, Eddie? You want to start with that one?
Yeah. I mean, I believe Tyrod Taylor, after Drew Brees got hurt, really showed that he can still be a starting quarterback in this league. I wouldn't be opposed to Cam Newton going to the Chargers, but since we just talked about him going to the Patriots, I don't know. They still have Eckler, right? They got rid of Melvin Gordon, so he's still like a threat there as a mobile quarterback. So that would be something like a change of pace also for the Chargers, not having a pocket passer like Philip Rivers.
So I would say that it's kind of hard in this scenario for the Chargers because I feel like they've had Philip Rivers for so long, and that's been such a solid offense they've run with him. It's just kind of hard to pick between these two. I would say stick with Tyrod Taylor only for the reason I feel like he had a few good years in Buffalo, and like he's kind of just fallen off the map and not really gotten another opportunity to play at the starting position at quarterback in this league. So I feel like give him a chance, even though Cam Newton's there. I feel like he's going to end up signing with the Patriots at some point this offseason, though. So I think they're probably going to have to stick with Tyrod for this year at least.
I think.
I agree. No, Corey,
you can go, Joe.
I was just going to say, touching on this quick, I would rather, have Cam Newton as my quarterback, if you're the Chargers. But at the same time, I mean, you have Tyrod Taylor, who, was a starter in Buffalo. He was starting in Cleveland before he got a concussion in the Thursday night game against my Jets. That Baker Mayfield came in, and
the Browns won that game, didn't they?
I was rooting for them.
The first win in like 2.5 years or something.
I remember that
in the rack.
It was yesterday, man. Oh my god.
City of Cleveland got free beer, but
only the Jets. You left with tears, Eddie.
I think I did. And I had a chemistry test the next. That was a double.
Test. But yeah, I'm just touching on that quick. Tyrod Taylor, I don't think is that bad of an option. He has a lot of starting experience. He has Keenan Allen to throw to still. He has Austin Eckler in the backfield. So, I think he'll be fine. They just got to get a fan base surrounding the Chargers now.
One of the things that I've been listening to several podcasts and reading a lot while I've been home is that how teams picking up new quarterbacks are going to struggle to put in their system and feel confident in putting that guy out on the field just because they're not going to have the OTAs and mini camp because of the coronavirus probably. So that's another thing where Chargers might be like, all right, we already got Taylor in here. He started when he was a starting quarterback at Buffalo when Anthony Lynn, the head coach, was an assistant there. So he knows his system, he's got the plays down, and he's T-Mobile. He's a very athletic quarterback. Anthony Lynn apparently is a big fan of him. So that would be the smart pick. But the Chargers, on the other hand, have a very talented roster, and they're kind of growing old though. So they're kind of in a win now mode. And I think if they feel this is one of the years where, okay, if we finally stay healthy, we could maybe go to the Super Bowl, I think Cam Newton would actually be the better pickup to help them maybe get over the hump.
Yeah. Like I said in the previous question, I really like Newton to the Patriots. And, Taylor to answer this question. But as I thought about it before, I like the points that Luke and Ryan made. Taylor was a guy. He had some success in Buffalo, and then Buffalo decided Josh Allen was going to be their guy. It's reasonable, but yeah, he did well.
Josh.
And but yeah, now he's back with the Chargers. Like you said, I mean, he knows Lynn's system. He's been with these Chargers guys, for a year now. And he's familiar with sort of the culture there. He's got the vote of confidence from the locker room, and I think he'll be able to. There's not really going to be much adjustment period. I think he's going to gel pretty well with them and be able to get in there and have some success.
Who is that?
That was Someone has their ring up so loud.
All right.
I bet you it was
Well, that's it for our Would You Rather segment.
Can't
So
see
now
it, but
we're
it's on
gonna
silent.
we're gonna move on to
That's funny.
a little easier one. We're gonna do true or false now. Our first question is, and I'm gonna go to you, Luke, for this one. Henry Ruggs will have a better rookie season than Jerry Jeudy.
That is the most false statement I've ever heard in my entire life. No, he will not have a better season. Jerry Judy's just a better talent. I don't care where Jerry Judy goes. He's probably going to end up being the one receiver wherever he gets picked to, which if it's in the top 15, I really can't think of a team that has a better receiver going down from 1 to 10 at least. So I think if it's the Jets or the Raiders, he's going to be the one receiver. He's going to get catching passes from either Sam Darnold or whoever the Raiders end up deciding to start at that point. So I think Jerry Jeudy has a better season.
Well, Luke, I want to pick your brain on one thing here. Say Jeudy goes to the Jets, and he's got Darnold thrown to him.
Gotcha.
But then Ruggs goes to Philadelphia, and Eagles get rid of Jeffrey, and Henry Ruggs slides in as the number one receiver, and your boy Wentz throwing to him.
All right, I want to be biased, but I can't. At the end of the day, I can't. Listen. Based on stats, Jeudy would have the better year, only for the reason the Eagles don't pick on one player to throw to all the time. We spread it out. We spread out the Goddard, Ertz. We're gonna have Deshaun Jackson's gonna be back, our deep threat. We're not gonna just hit Ruggs every play. It's kind of more gonna go towards our entire offense. Miles Sanders out of the backfield. Compared to the Jets, where they really, no offense, guys, but the weapons are just not there right now. If you get Jerry Jeudy, he's going to be catching 10 passes a game. You're going to be hitting him on screens, anything you can get him.
We just have what's his name, Perriman from the Bucks. So at least we got another receiver on this. Yeah, Perriman. He could be something. And thoughts. All right, I guess I'll go now. So for me. I'm gonna go with false too. I think with the they're both very talented receivers. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like Jeudy, wherever he goes, like Luke said, is just gonna make such an impact on that team. And I can only pray to God that he goes to the Jets and they don't trade down to the Falcons for two other picks in the second round or something like that I saw in the mock draft today. I could not believe NFL analysis would even think about putting that on the website.
About mocking his Jets that way. Making a mockery of them.
All they gotta do is trade. The Knicks gotta trade the number one pick next year, and then all hell will break loose.
When we talk about my Knicks, I wear the Knicks shirt and everything. Don't you worry. But
so you got Jeudy with the better season than Ruggs?
I do. Yeah, I mean. Both being at Alabama and just, I feel like Jeudy got more targets there too, and he's, in my opinion, the more talented receiver.
I agree as well. I think Jeudy will have a better season, but Daniel Jeremiah, who's like the lead NFL draft guy for NFL Network, I saw a tweet today that he said he wouldn't be surprised if Ruggs was actually the first receiver picked. So that just shows how teams are thinking of him, and he ran the 4.27 40. So. I mean, this year I think Judy's more a complete receiver, ready to come in and play right away. But I think Ruggs over the long term, and when he develops and gets stronger and runs better routes, that with that blazing speed he could have the better long term career. But for this question, I would say Judy will have a better immediate impact this season.
Yeah, I'm gonna go false as well. I think that Judy is. I think he should, and I think he probably will be the first receiver off the board. So he's likely going to be going to a worse team, and so he's the guy right off the bat. And so I just think that he'll be able to have that immediate impact. And if we're talking about over the scope of their careers, while he's young and healthy, he's going to be really a go-to kind of guy, possibly more so than Ruggs. And so I think stat from looking back at Judy as the guy.
Yeah, I mean, you guys touched on it pretty much everything. I think Judy's going to have the better season because I think Ruggs honestly just kind of benefited from having an insane combine because everyone was expecting Jerry Jeudy to kind of just be the man at the and do his thing, And then when he did, when he was,
Exactly.
impressing scouts, no one was like, oh my gosh, because they expected that. When Henry Ruggs did it, everyone was like, holy crap. Then you see in his high school basketball mixtape coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you see all this other
shot
stuff
him up draft boards. He was
The
dunking
NFL
on guys
draft,
like you, Joe, and that makes him the best receiver in the draft.
it's not easy to dunk on me. I'm like,
No.
I got a lot of mass.
Do you think, Joe, you think Henry Ruggs would be able to get the all copper nod though up in CT?
Not against that Sony secondary, dude.
Oh no.
That lavender and
no.
white, they don't play.
All right. How about this one? This is true or false? Will Tom Brady lead the Bucs to a Super Bowl berth? Not a Super Bowl title, but a Super Bowl berth.
False. I'm sorry. It's so false. No, I don't even think the Bucs will make the playoffs this year.
Wow.
That's my hot take. Brady is so dumb.
I agree. I agree with Joe. I'll go after Joe on this one.
Well, actually, they have a 7th playoff spot now. The Bucs make the playoffs. I'm being dramatic.
Yeah, how about you go Bucs don't win the division?
They will not make the Super Bowl. I don't think that they will make.
Wait, isn't the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay this year too?
It's Tampa Bay.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh no.
Oh boy.
It's all coming together.
Well,
one thing though I want to say really quick.
Kiss away the NFC.
One thing I want to touch on. How weird is it going to be seeing the Bucs in like 6 primetime games this year?
Yeah.
It's going to be the weirdest thing ever. And I can't wait to see all the random Bucs fans that we never knew existed just come out of the woodwork like, oh, I've been a Bucs fan my whole life. Like, no, you have not. Your Jeremiah Sprinkles do not exist.
You do not. Stevens University. Fake college.
What about you, Josh? You got Bucs to the Super Bowl or no?
No, I don't. I just think that I think that the NFC is still strong across the board. So I mean, if we're going to Bucs versus the field, I got to take the field. I think that I'm a little more optimistic on them than Joe, which I'll touch on a little later with my comments on Brady. But I think playoffs for sure. Super Bowl is a bit of a stretch. I think they're might take some time. I think it's reasonable to say that they could do it. By the time Brady stays there, done. But I don't see it happening this coming year.
I mean, I feel like the Bucs all around were a talented team that were just missing a quarterback. I feel like Jameis Winston turned the ball over way too much to be that.
Yeah, they have someone who had good eyes. That's all it was.
I think 30 times.
They've had a really good defense over the years. That hasn't really been their problem. It's been the problem was offense. Realistically, they've held teams to pretty low numbers throughout. I mean, if you look up the stats, they haven't really let up a whole lot. But at the end of the day, they have Mike Evans at wide receiver. They got Chris Godwin. They got Ronald Jones is probably going to be the running back, who was very underrated. Came out of college pretty good, very low mileage coming out. And then now you got Tom Brady. I feel like it could be a good season, but Super Bowl's a stretch.
I think if you look at it though, the Bucs did have one of the best offenses in the league last year under Arians, and Winston still turned the ball over at least 30 times. He threw 30 picks. I'm not sure how many fumbles that included either. But they still went 8-8. So if you get a quarterback like Brady in there who's going to take care of the ball and he has all those great weapons, I definitely think they're going to have a very good season. But I still think the NFC South runs through New Orleans, and when it comes to playoffs, home field advantage is very important. And New Orleans has one of the best home field advantages. Though the past 2 years they did lose at home in the playoffs when they were favored. So
that's going to be interesting. Brady and Breeze twice a year.
Yeah. I think
be
NFC South definitely going to be exciting.
That will be the first Sunday night game of the year.
That'll be awesome.
Breeze
in
Tampa Bay. That'll be week 1. I guarantee.
Yeah, I do not think the Bucs are going to, unless if they get Swift and he proves like his worth and becomes like 1,000+ yard rusher and like 500 receiving yards, I think that could propel them. But like I like Ronald Jones, Luke, but I don't think he's a very good running back like in the past where the Patriots had like Blunt, or when the Eagles won it where they had Blunt, like a guy who was going to run down the clock. The Bucs don't really have that, and that's one of the things that you definitely need to win come playoff time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you boys here. It's definitely false. I mean, Tom Brady is gonna have some very good offensive weapons, and Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, like Luke mentioned. You add DeAndre Swift into that mix, that's gonna be a disaster for defenses. But speaking of defenses, I I was curious about like how their defense was ranked, and as of right now, they're 29th, and defense wins championships. And that's why the Patriots, right now, the Patriots are still ranked number 1 in defense. And that's why Tom Brady won 12 games last year. So he's not going to have that defense to rely on that he had with the Patriots. And it could end up like losing on a last-second field goal or anything like that.
All right. This one, I want you guys, we're just going to go quick on this one. True or false, the NFL season will start on time amid the coronavirus?
I pray true. I hope so.
It better be true.
It's true.
I mean,
It's
coming
true.
what?
I got true.
For preseason? Preseason is like in August, right?
Yeah, well, so like if it does drag out into the summer, training camp could get delayed, which would probably cancel some preseason, and they might even force them to cancel a few regular season, but
I think at worst, maybe training camp gets delayed.
I just don't think there's going to be fans at the beginning. I think the NFL season will start on time.
Something today, but
fans won't be able to be
NFL game without fans.
Because I think even when quarantine gets out, I think there's still going to be like
game.
some parameters.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like there's still going to be parameters once quarantine's done. That like people aren't going to be allowed to go a certain amount of like 50 people to a crowd or something like that. It's going to be dumb, but yeah.
Yeah.
50 people.
Josh, you got true or false?
The true is that it starts on time.
Yeah, true or false. The NFL season will start on time.
Yeah, I'm taking true here. I'm hoping we can get everything cleared up by then. If not, I would hope the NFL has the presence of mind and maybe cancel preseason games first and foremost. Get a full training camp in, still be able to get eyes on players. But it's nice to see guys in their in game form. But I think that would be first on the priority list of things to get rid of if we have to cut things out. Maybe start training camp later, end it later, and then hopefully still start the regular season on time.
All right, next one. This is targeting those AFC boys again. True or false? The Patriots will lose the AFC East this year.
That is true.
You want to take it away, Joe?
I will. I'm going to say true, but I think the Bills are going to win the division this year.
My Bills.
I do. I think the Bills are going to win. As of right now, they got to be the betting favorite right now. But don't count out Bill Belichick as a coach. That's the only thing. Because I feel like he could take the 5 of us and make us into a playoff contender. Like that's my one thing with Bill Belichick and the Pats. So I'm going to say true. They don't win it, right? That was it. They're not going to win it. Right?
It's true or false. The Patriots will lose the AFC this year. So
I think they'll lose, but I think they're going to still be in the playoffs and they're going to be like competing the entire season for that division.
I'm gonna go true as well. As you guys know, this past year I was rooting for the Bills. I thought, particularly at the beginning of the year, that they would make the playoffs. They did really impress me throughout the year. They just got a growing team. They got my boy Joshy under center, and then they traded for Diggs. They're an up and coming team. I'm not going to say they're going to be a dynasty like the Patriots, but I could see them being the favorite in the AFC East for the next 2 to 4 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like the Bills have only gotten better this offseason, and that our boy Joshy is only going to get better under center.
And they got another Joshy. They got Joshy at corner.
They did. They got Joshy Norman at corner, right? And then
Josh Nolan will be going up there soon.
Yeah,
I'm a new fan.
New fan of the Bills.
That's right. I'm a Bills guy.
Josh Nichols will be playing center.
Getting 20-yard rushes.
Guy, but I could hold down the center. Actually.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna go true too.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna go true too, and I agree with Joe. Like Bills are definitely the favorite, but if it's still Bill Belichick. He's still coaching, so if he does get like we mentioned before, like the two quarterbacks I have right now, I don't believe that they'll be the starting quarterback once the season starts. If they do pick up Cam Newton or Andy Dolan, any of those type of quarterbacks, that the Patriots should still win the AFC as that they have for the last 20 years.
Joshy?
So I'm going to go false. Everything, all logic sort of tells go with the Bills. I just think the Patriots are going to find a way to pull it out. I think both those teams make the playoffs. I think, that division gets a wild card team. But yeah, I think that, like you guys said, I mean, Belichick's still there. Belichick is, reigns supreme in that division for a long time now. And, if they're able to get, like a Cam Newton or even an Andy Dalton in there, they still have Edelman. They still have, they still have pieces. They still have the offensive line. And I think that they'll find a way to pull it out.
All right, here's our last true or false, and then we'll move on to a new segment. We got true or false. The AFC title game this year will be Chiefs versus Ravens. Joe, you want to start us off on that one?
Yeah, I'm going false just because I'm going to pick the field, because you could have a weird scenario where they end up on the same side of like the bracket. Like one gets the 3 or the other one gets the 2. So I'm just going to say false just because of, I'm like betting the field. But I do think they're going to be some of the best teams. But I would not be surprised either if Lamar Jackson has a slump. I really wouldn't be surprised if that happens this year.
All right, for the sake of this one, let's say that the Chiefs and the Ravens are both the 1 and the 2 seed. So the first time they can meet up is the title game.
So in that case, I think true. I think they're going to be the 2 best teams. And especially, if they're playing at home the whole time. If they're on opposite sides of the bracket, like you said, if they're the 1 and the 2 seeds, I think that will be the AFC title game.
Okay. Josh?
Yeah, I would, given that circumstance, I'd say true as well. I think they've proven themselves, this past year as the best 2 teams. They have 2 best young quarterbacks in the league, and I think that they'll be there. I think that'll be a great game if they do meet up.
All right, I'll go. I'm gonna go true as well. Like the beginning of the offseason, I was kind of leaning towards that it would be like a Chiefs-Texans. I thought maybe this would be the year that the Texans get over the top, just because they got like more continuity along their offensive line. Deshaun Watson's just getting better, but then they went and traded DeAndre Hopkins, like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
So
Don't
that kind of
get me started. I am so glad you
faith
picked
in
that
them.
segment. You have no idea.
Made me lose faith in them. So I'm going to say, I think as of right now, you got to pick Chiefs-Ravens, especially the Ravens even adding more players on their defense. They got Calais Campbell. And I think they picked 26, 27, or 28, somewhere in that range, where they're going to be set up to get a pretty good receiver for Lamar as well. So Chiefs-Ravens, I think, would be a logical pick again.
See, I think this is true, not just because the Ravens and the Chiefs are the best 2 teams in the AFC. I feel like the AFC has also gotten a lot worse since over this offseason. I feel like the Patriots are Brady leaving. That's done. In my opinion, that's going to be done. But the Texans got worse. They traded Hopkins for God knows what reason. That was weird. And I feel like Patrick Mahomes is probably the best player on the planet right now. You got Lamar Jackson leading the Ravens with John Harbaugh. That's a crazy quarterback coach duo for both teams. So I think that's going to be probably your best 2 teams in the AFC for the next 2 or 3 years.
Eddie, do you still have to go on this one? Or do you talk?
Yeah. I'm going to go with true, like just like you said, like if it's the scenario where the Chiefs are the 1, the Ravens are the 2. But then I thought about it, like maybe the Steelers with Big Ben coming back, and even like I was thinking too, like if we were to do like a dark horse candidate, I'm liking the Raiders signing Marcus Mariota. Gruden's not set on Derek Carr, and I feel like if Gruden could get Marcus Mariota to be like the quarterback he was when he won the Heisman at Oregon, I feel like he's got so many weapons there that he could potentially get out there.
All right, cool. the next segment we're going to dive into is we're going to go with coaches who are entering the season on the hot seat and what the coach needs to do to save his job. So our first coach we're going to talk about is Dan Coyle of the Falcons, and Josh is going to touch on that one.
I am, yeah. So, no secret that Dan Quinn is on the hot seat. He came in, started off hot his second year in Atlanta. He won an NFC championship. Went to the Super Bowl, 28-3, and then next year, someone did have to say elephant in the room, but he could have been a Super Bowl champion. It's a shame, but so he next year won a game in the playoffs, made the divisional round, and then the past 2 years, I want to just highlight some stats. The defense has been a particularly sour spot the last couple of years. 2018, they were 28th in yards allowed, 25th in points allowed. Coming into 2019, Dan Quinn says, all right, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. Appoints himself as the defensive coordinator. And it didn't help things very much. I mean, they improved slightly, but that they were still in 2019 20th in total yards allowed, and 23rd in points allowed. So I think for him to keep his job this year, they want to see fans are going to, and Arthur Blank as well is going to want to see the Falcons get back to that some of that flair that they had in 2016, 2017, so I'd say that they're going to want to win the division and or win a playoff game. And certainly see some improvement defensively. I think those are sort of the two keys. You want to see some results in postseason success. You need an improvement in the defense. I think those are what Dan Quinn really needs to get done in order to save his job there.
All right, good stuff. We'll move on to Joe and his Jets and Adam Gase.
I think it's very simple. Obviously, Gase on the hot seat. He saved his job, in my opinion, last season by finishing 7-9. When at one point we were 0-6, something like that. 0-5, 0-6. We were awful.
Vedvik.
Dude, it all started with Vedvik. Then Darnold gets mono. I will say,
how do you not have a kicker before the season starts?
He did kind of get put in a crappy position, having Darnold get mono and having to go with Luke Falk, who was just an abomination, who shouldn't even get a chance to be in the NFL ever again, in my opinion. But he was so bad. Anyways, I think if Gase wants to stay off the hot seat and keep his job, he has to finish 500 or better, which. Let me pull up the Jets' schedule this year, because of course we get the NFC West, the AFC West.
Oh, it's horrible.
In our cross division games, and we also get the Colts and the Browns as the two oddball teams.
And you got to go against Joshy twice.
We go against obviously Bill. We still got the Bills twice. We got the Pats twice. The Dolphins improved. Shout out Byron Jones. We're at the St. Paul High School in Bristol. But Dolphins improved. NVL guy.
Wow. They run the option, right?
They do. They're in the triple option.
That's the triple option team.
That's look at you.
Yeah, we took care of that. My Hawks took care of that this year.
But the Jets' schedule is a bitch this year, of course. But I think honestly that he has to somehow find a way to finish 500 or better. If if everyone was calling him, this offensive guru. And Colin Cowherd saying that this upcoming AFC title game is supposed to be at MetLife, and the Jets are. This is his tweet.
The 1 seed Jets.
That's going to be all it takes to expose this season.
That'll be the day.
He needs to finish at least 500 or better and compete for now that 7th spot, which is big for my Jets.
All right, cool. Eddie, you want to talk about Bill O'Brien and the Texans?
This will be
I'm glad you picked it for this segment, and I feel like you did because I had Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins on my fantasy team this year, and they were just a dynamic duo, dude. I mean, how could you stack it? I saw that. I knew as soon as I saw that it was my name right there. I was like, oh, this is the perfect segment for me. I mean, to me, he's the best receiver in the NFL. And Will Fuller and Kenny Stills are not going to fill in the void that DeAndre Hopkins was for Deshaun Hopkins. Who did he go to on like 3rd and long? Quick slant to DeAndre Hopkins. Will Fuller, he's inconsistent. He had the one game this year. It was like the 4-touchdown game, 53 fantasy points. Of course, I put him on my bench, but that just goes to show that he's not putting up those numbers every game. And they don't even have a first-round pick this year. So it is a deep wide receiver draft, and they'll get maybe somebody in the 2nd round. But if he doesn't win the AFC South this year, I feel like he's out. It's going to be really tough with the Titans this year. I mean, Derrick Henry is just a beast, and they just signed Tannehill. They're going to trust Tannehill. And, I mean, like, with David Johnson, I like the idea behind getting David Johnson. It's going to open up, like, for some play action. Because they had, Carlos Hyde and running back name at the moment. But
not Duke Johnson.
Duke Johnson, yeah.
Or was it? Yeah, it was Duke Johnson.
It was Duke Johnson. Yeah.
I drafted him. Yeah, Duke
I
Johnson.
mean, in my opinion,
that shithead Lamar Miller,
yeah,
he's gone.
David
right
Johnson.
Lamar Miller. What a guy.
And also,
A 97-yard
touchdown. Like,
I'm sorry, Eddie. I'm cutting you off. That was the greatest fantasy moment
no,
of my life.
Okay.
That's all.
But just one last comment. Just like Kenny Stills, like I said before, that him and Will Fuller not gonna fill in the void. Kenny Stills' numbers like went up when Will Fuller was injured or DeAndre Hopkins was injured, but I still don't see him being consistent like DeAndre Hopkins was, and that was Deshaun Watson's best friend, and he's probably thinking, what was the coaching staff? It's like a Jets move. It's such a Jets move.
Well, just another thing to add to that, Eddie. O'Brien has, since their GM, like their old GM's like wife got cancer or something, so he had to like resign so he could like spend more time like take care of her. So that led to O'Brien eventually taking over as the full-time GM, and we've seen what happened with that. He made that bad trade for Hopkins. He traded 2 first-round picks for Laramie Tunsil. So if the owner is like, all right, this dude can't make trades and he's struggling especially when they get to the playoffs, that's just another reason maybe to let him go. But I'm going to talk next about...
I give him 1 or 2 more years.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about Mike Zimmer and the Vikings. I think this is one of those years where it might be an NFC title game or bust for them. You can argue that ever since Zimmer's been there, at least these past like 3 years, that the Vikings have been arguably the best talent, like most talented team in the league. They went out and signed Cousins 2 years ago, and they haven't made it any further. The furthest they've gone was NFC title game when they played the Eagles, and they got smacked around 38-7 with Keenum at quarterback. So they figured, all right, we go get Cousins. He'll be the guy to take us over the top. But they did they did go to New Orleans last year and win the playoffs, but then they lost at the 49ers. They traded Diggs this offseason, so I think the offense will take a step back. Dalvin Cook and Thielen are very good on offense, but the Zimmer's calling card has always been his defense. They lost 2 cornerbacks this offseason, 2 starting corners, Trey Waynes, Xavier Rhodes. They decided not to re-sign defensive end Everson Griffin. So defense is going to have a lot of new faces. I just think the Vikings are one of those teams who, despite all their talent on the roster, they're losing a great amount of talent as well. And they're definitely seemed like a team to me who is going to take a step back. And that could be doomsday for Mike Zimmer, especially with the Packers. Looks like they're going to be back to running that division again. The Vikings, I think, could be that like 6 or 7 seed in the NFC this year. But I think Mike Zimmer's got to get the Vikings back to NFC title game, or it could be like kind of like a Jason Garrett thing. Like, all right, you can get us to the playoffs, but once we get there, what are you going to do? And the Vikings might just decide to move on. But despite all that, the Vikings do have a very talented roster. And if Kirk Cousins can maybe get to that next level and be an elite quarterback, he could help save Zimmer's job. But that's all I got on the Vikings. Luke, you want to talk about Doug Marrone and the Jaguars?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of hard to blame Doug Marrone for what's happening with the Jaguars. I feel like they're not being managed very well. Obviously, they're in a rebuild stage right now, so when you're going to a rebuild stage, you want to keep your key players, and I feel like trading away Jalen Ramsey made no sense to me. I feel like he was probably your best player in the team at that point. They have Leonard Fournette right now, but Leonard Fournette just went on Instagram and deleted his Instagram and then posted one picture of just a guy sitting on a bench, basically saying he's alone in Jacksonville, which is true because he is alone. and then so when the Jaguars used to be an AFC contender years ago, and when they had that, they had a great defense, one of the best defenses in the league, and they had a solid running game with Leonard Fournette. They've clearly went away from that. I don't know what they're trying to do right now, but it's hard to blame Doug Marrone for what's happening, only for the reason they're not being managed very well. So,
by the way, I just want to touch on this quick. It's crazy how quickly the Jaguars went from AFC title game to complete rebuild.
Yes,
It's just crazy how
it was
like
bizarre
in a
to
year.
me. I feel like they're just not being managed
got
at all.
tattoos because they thought they were going to win the Super Bowl.
What do you think, though, Luke, that the Jaguars and like Minshew have to do this year in order for Marrone to keep his job?
In terms of wins and losses?
Yeah, like what would you say like expectations are in Jacksonville this year?
I would say about 500. 8-8 would be a good year for them. In terms of a rebuild stage, I feel like 8-8 would be perfect for them, for him to at least keep his job.
I think it was very bold last year after going out and signing Foles to that big contract, and like he was hurt. He was never really able to get into a rhythm. They let him go, and they decided Marrone said he wanted Minshew as his quarterback. So I think if Minshew like fizzles out and doesn't really have that great of a season, that could be another like.
Yeah, this season could go real bad for the Jaguars. Yeah, really easily.
Could be another knock on Marrone, like that he can't evaluate the quarterback position. But all right, we're moving on to our last segment. We're just gonna be talking about QBs this offseason. A lot of like moving parts. Ryan Tannehill re-signed with the Titans. That's like the major like re-sign. But a lot of other quarterbacks are going to new places. Josh, you want to talk about what you think about Tom Brady going to the Bucs?
Sure. The biggest news in a while in NFL free agency is certainly going to be the biggest one this year. We all know what Tom Brady is. We know what he does. And the big question mark, I think, is, he was part of such a, great dominant system in New England. Can he sustain that success in Tampa Bay, especially with his increasing age? And, he's going into one of you guys mentioned earlier. I mean, Tampa Bay was a good team. They just needed a quarterback with the wildly inconsistent Jameis Winston holding down the reins last year. And so Brady comes in. He's got great weapons as far as skill position players around him. He has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. He's got O.J. Howard at tight end. They're solidifying their defense too. They just re-signed Ndamukong Suh. To go along with Vita Vea on the defensive line. So he's got a good cast of characters around him. It seemed like with the Patriots, the one thing that that they were missing maybe, or that that they sometimes lacked was sort of quality, big name top producing receivers. Edelman was always a consistent. Amendola was good, and they had some good filler year to year guys, but it seemed like there was always this kind of guys like Chris Hogan, good players, but like who the hell is this guy, and where did he come from? But he's got, but Brady now has two top tier wideouts that he's working with. And I think that this could be a winning formula. Like I said, I certainly expect, to make the playoffs this year and just about every year, unless something drastic changes, while Brady's there. And I think that, this is something that could be successful. I think this experiment will work for the Bucs.
All right. I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna talk about Nick Foles to the Bears. That's a move that if I was a Bears fan or just as a football fan, I love that move. Obviously, he's not gonna be guaranteed the starting job. He's gonna go in there, have to compete with Trubisky, but by the way Trubisky played last year, if Foles just goes in there and plays how he's capable, he will win that job. Just based off Foles' like previous playing experience, when he went to the Rams, that's where he sucked. When he was with the Jags last year, he was never able to get in a rhythm really because of his injuries, but he definitely struggled down there even when he came back. where you've seen him succeed was with the Eagles, and even when he played those few games with the Chiefs a few years back, under that like Andy Reid like West Coast like passing game. He's got like the quick passing, and Matt Nagy, the coach of the Bears, is a disciple of the Andy Reid coaching tree. He coached alongside Doug Peterson, so Foles is comfortable with that system. He's got some good weapons. He's got Allen Robinson, who's I'm not going to say an elite receiver, but probably one of the top 15 to 25 receivers in that range in the league. They went out and signed Jimmy Graham this offseason. They got Trey Burton at tight end, who Foles has played with before. They got Tariq Cohen, who's very good out of the backfield. There's a lot of good pieces there for Foles to succeed, and the Bears also have one of the more elite defensive units in the league. I think, kind of like we were saying with Brady to the Bucs, I'm not trying to compare the two, but if Foles can just go and like take care of the ball, like Brady's going to have to do with the Bucs. The Bears are a team who is definitely in position to win. They can compete up there with the Vikings and the Packers for NFC North. I definitely think they could be one of those teams knocking on the 6 or 7 seed door and make the playoffs. But I definitely like the move from the Bears to go out and acquire Nick Foles. I think he's a strong arm quarterback playing out in Chicago. We all know it's the Windy City. He's going to be able to make deep throws there. But it's just a level of comfort for Foles, something that he's familiar with, and we've seen that's where he's excelled before. And I think hopefully Matt Nagy is able to tap into that familiarity and make Foles the quarterback that he was in that playoff run when he was with the Eagles. So that's all I got on that topic. Eddie, you want to talk about Phillip Rivers signing with the Colts?
Yeah, I'll give my 2 cents. So he just signed that 1 year, $25 million contract. And I really don't think that it's going to do much for him over with the Colts. I mean, if T.Y. Hilton's healthy, he's got him as a great wide receiver. But, I mean, Andrew Luck retired early because that offensive line, he got destroyed because his offensive line couldn't protect him. He at the end of his career, and it could be that he does start and then they don't do well, because besides 2 seasons ago where they went 12-4 and they were tied with the Chiefs, the past couple of years they've been at the bottom of the division. He really just hasn't impressed me, and I really don't see why the Colts picked him up. I thought he was going to retire, honestly, but I'm happy he's still going to be around for another year, and maybe I don't know, maybe he can make something out of it. But to make the playoffs, having to go against the the Texans and the Titans. Yeah. So that if it's one of those teams is going to win the division, so it'd be tough to get a wild card spot in that scenario. But it could lead to something, but I just don't see it going anywhere.
All right, Luke, what are your thoughts on Marcus Mariota signing a 2-year deal with the Raiders?
I am not a fan of that. Only for the reason that, let me explain here. So John Gruden, new market, bigger market in Vegas. You got a guy like Cam Newton out there on the market, former MVP, former Heisman Trophy winner. You got to put somebody on a face in Vegas on a billboard, or on a billboard of face in Vegas. You know, I'm trying to word that. I don't know how to word that, but whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Anyway, I think Mariota, his contract isn't that high, so they're not really. Obviously, Gruden wants to move away from Derek Carr. That's clear. He's made that very clear. I think Mariota's contract isn't big enough to say that he's going to be the definite starter. I feel like they could still go out and get a guy like Cam Newton and not have a problem with that. So honestly, I don't like the move. I'm not a fan.
All right. And Joe, our last topic of the night, Ryan Tannehill re-signed with the Titans, 4-year deal, near $120 million.
Yeah, I got the contract right here on my phone in front of me. I'm looking at it right now. He's 32. He's grossly overpaid. He hasn't really been impressive his entire career. He's been injury prone. He had a good half a year for the Titans. And in all honesty, the only reason why they made it to the AFC title game with him because of Derrick Henry. I don't think he should have gotten paid that much money. I personally think, based off his injury history, there's a pretty good chance he gets hurt again. I hope he doesn't. You know what I mean? I don't want anyone to, get hurt. I mean, I'm not hoping for anyone to get hurt, but
you sick bastard.
But I don't think the Titans are going to win that division, or if they do, because the AFC South is just normally such a crappy division. Everyone could be like 1-5. You could be like, hey, we still got a chance. Like, that's the only, like, if they win the division, they're not going to be a very impressive team. I don't think they're going to wow anybody. I don't think Tannehill is going to wow anybody. I think the Titans are going to regret this really, really quickly.
You think that, just quick thing, do you think that the Titans will regret not going to make an attempt for Brady instead of settling for Tannehill?
Short term, well, I mean, both are kind of short term options, but short term, like this year, I think so, and like next year, yeah. But Tannehill, they only have signed for 2 years after that, and with an option to get out after his third year of the contract, which the Titans, if they can, will get him out probably after that third year. But I mean, I think they're going to regret not getting Brady just because of the fact that the name brand of Brady will bring a ton of fans to even more fans to your games. And Tom Brady's just a smarter quarterback overall than Tannehill, in my opinion.
Because I think you definitely could have made a case that Titans would have been neck and neck with the Chiefs as the betting favorite to win the AFC if Brady had gone to Tennessee instead of Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the AFC has gotten, once again, it's just kind of – it got really diluted and weak over the past couple weeks of free agency. You had the best receiver leaving the conference. You had Brady leaving the conference. You have a lot of teams a lot of teams are making minor free agency moves in the AFC. No one's really trying to do the big splash to beat the Chiefs because I think that's the goal now in the AFC. You've got to beat the Chiefs. But, I think definitely if he had went to Tennessee, like you said, there would have been an argument that the Titans would have been, AFC champs.
All right. Good stuff, guys. That was pretty good first Skype. Hopefully we'll be back in a few days. Thinking maybe we could throw in some with college basketball ending, maybe some NBA draft, little outlook at that, and maybe some more NFL draft, NFL offseason stuff. But thanks everyone for listening to the Beef Up Front, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. See you guys.